You know, it's hard to believe that all that trouble got caused from one platinum chip. Am I right?
Yeah, that thing is not worth the trouble, believe it or not.
Yes.
Especially for 2 bullets. No. Hell no. 1 bullet? Maybe. Not 2.
Right. Hello and welcome to Let's Interview, and my guest is 101Phase, also known as the creator of the Courier's Mind.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yeah. But seriously though, I love the special edition, the collector's edition for Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, I kind of wish I bought that now. These things do not come cheap anymore.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Though I am regretting never getting the Fallout 4 collector's edition. I really wanted that Pip Boy.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm pretending that doesn't exist. Otherwise, I'll just get upset.
I
I
know the
do.
feeling. I know.
I do, however, have a. Oh, I can't actually show you this, but I do have a limited. I think it's a limited thing. It's a Fallout 3 statuette of a Brotherhood of Steel member in T-45 power armor. I think it only ever came out in the UK, but yeah, pretty
Yeah, I
happy
think
I
that
found
might
this.
have been. So yeah, the Courier's Mind. How many seasons are you up to now? Like,
8 seasons.
yeah, 8 seasons of wacky
And counting, hopefully,
misadventures,
once I get my
a
stuff
lot of
done.
anger, revenge, lots and lots of revenge.
Yeah. Although, of course, if people have been watching up to this point, the revenge part is actually done, amazingly. We're now, I would say, we're coming to the end of what I would call Act 2 of the
Yeah,
main
well, let's
storyline.
face it, it's not really a spoiler that Benny will die. It's not a spoiler because we know he's going to die no matter what.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
by
I
your
mean,
hands, Caesar's hands, or whatever. Although, I really, to be honest, I really wish there was an option where you really could team up with him.
Well, you say that, so I don't know how many people know this, but in some of the cut contents for Fallout New Vegas, there actually isn't a way for you to actually team up with him. But from what I've seen, there was an option where, well, you know how you can free him, right? You could sneak a stealth boy for him or something, and then he would escape. Are you
Yeah.
aware of that? Yeah. So in those cut contents, apparently, if you did that, then at some point you meet him again as a random encounter. This time he has a few friends with him who tries to kill you.
Oh,
So
goody.
yeah. So I don't think the developers ever intended it's for you two to work together.
It's a shame, too, because, I mean, it could have just been a change with the whole take over the wasteland. Just, yeah. Instead of
Wow.
using Yes Man, you have, Benny and Yes Man.
Yeah, it's a bit of a concern, to be honest. This idea that the entire New Vegas area, with all the Securitrons, we don't know how many, but presumably a lot, all of them will be directly controlled by an AI who's practically cannot say no to anybody.
Yeah,
So
exactly. All it takes is one a-hole of a stealth boy and knows where to find him to basically learn how to basically shoot you in the back.
yeah.
And for all we know,
So
I'm pretty and as we all know about AIs, I mean, look at our certain enclave president. They tend to learn for themselves, and I'm pretty sure that eventually Yes Man will figure out how to turn that off.
well,
Let's hope you were
that's
nice
that's
to him.
that's for Fallout New Vegas 2, I guess, if that ever becomes a thing.
Yeah, and then you got Mr. House, who... Can we just say the Wasteland is screwed no matter what you do?
That's basically, yeah. That's kind of the impression that I get. I obviously want to avoid spoilers, but in my personal opinion, New Vegas as an area, like just the whole strip thing, is kind of like, it's like the ultimate theme. It's the ultimate symbolism of risk in gambling, right?
Yeah.
It's, when you think about it, everybody Courier included, they have gambled away a lot. They're waging a lot on this place, this thing, which may or may not even turn out to be worth it. Let's be
I mean, the only
brutally
thing we
honest.
really have that's worth value is, well, the hydroelectric plant.
Yeah, yeah, and even that is like, well, okay, you got the dam.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's
what are you gonna
that's
do with that
debatable because of the
electricity?
maintenance.
Yeah, and what are you gonna do with that electricity? Practically speaking, the only one who will, the only faction who has real proper use of it is the NCR. And let's be honest, if the Courier takes over the dam himself, they're gonna be pretty pissed off. I'm not sure they're gonna appreciate that.
Yeah, let's
But
see. The
that's
NCR
a
is
whole-
corrupt. Caesar's Legion are a bunch of slavers. Mr. House is gonna suck all the money dry, and if you take over, well, you're a courier. You're not a leader.
Well,
I'm
that's,
pretty
th-
sure you're
there's
gonna
so
lose
many.
control eventually.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's open to interpretation. It's open for potential sequels. Let's hope there will be a sequel.
Oh
but,
God, yes, we need to get Obsidian back on this.
Well, I mean, it's we'll wait and see.
So yes, now enough about talking about New Vegas. Let's talk about the Courier's mind. Obviously, it's inspiration from Freeman's mind. That's pretty much how
Absolutely.
it all started.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually, well, it's a little bit more complicated than that actually, because when I first saw Freeman's Mind, this would have been 2008, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit late.
nearly 10
Maybe a little
years.
bit later. It's crazy. It's been such a long time. And I remember watching that show for the first time and thinking, oh my god, this is brilliant. How is it that no one else has thought of this? Well, clearly, since Freeman's Mind, plenty of people have thought about this. We have a whole mastermind group and so on.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like so many other people at the time, I watched this and things like Red vs. Blue and so on. And first thing that came to my mind is, oh, I wish I could do something like that. I bet I want to try and do something like that. And at the time, actually, the only game I had available that's even remotely similar to Half-Life, I didn't even play Half-Life back then. It was Doom 3. So
yeah, Doom. Yeah.
yeah, so the original Mind series that I wanted to make was actually Doom 3. It would have been, I guess, Doom Guy's Mind or maybe Marine's Mind. I don't know what the guy's official name is, but that's
I don't think he even has a name. He's just either the Marine or Doom guy.
Yeah, so that would have been the original source of Courier's Mind actually, and in typical fashion at the time, I didn't even know what the hell I would do with it. You know, I didn't know, for instance, how to turn the HUD off. I didn't know. I didn't even complete the game at the time. I was just so. I was
Spur of
so
the moment.
Yeah, I loved Freeman's Mind so much that I just wanted to write, frankly. So I just started writing these scripts in my head that, some of them I just thought of in my head and then promptly forgetting it. Some of them I actually wrote down, and you know, without thinking about the technical aspect, which, you know, ultimately that sort of thing doesn't amount to much. I'm pretty sure a lot of writers would sympathize with this.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
look at Shepard's mind. He couldn't. There was no way to turn off the HUDs. But what did he do? He incorporated into the story. You work
Yeah.
around the problems.
Yeah, and it's worked pretty well for him. And but at the end of the day, I think like those sort of ideas does eventually it opens up possibilities, right? So this was actually before I even played Fallout 3. This was before I played any Fallout. But by the time I got to Fallout 3, I thought, holy crap, this is great. This is one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah.
And then naturally moving on to Fallout New Vegas. And it was around that time, this was, I bought it on day one, so this was 2010. It came out on the same day as my birthday, amazingly.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was a hell of an evening playing that.
Oh yeah.
And completed that very quickly. And I remember thinking at the time, I thought, you know, this would actually be interesting as a Mind series material. Like by then, I've completely forgotten about Doom 3. I gave up on that. But I thought, you know, if someone does do Courier's Mind, if someone did do a Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 Mind series, I remember thinking, how would you even begin to approach that? Like, it's easy looking at it now because I've been doing it for so many years, but
Yeah,
at
but
the
back
time,
then, whenever you saw a Mind series, there were two things in common. One, silent protagonist, and
yeah.
two, linear gameplay.
Well, that's the thing. So that's kind of why I thought it would be interesting to try a Fallout one because even though technically, like the Courier and the Lone Wanderer, they're not actually silent per se. They do, converse with other characters. It's just you don't hear them. So
Exactly.
that's already a bit of a unique aspect. And the other one, like you said, is completely open world. But at the time, I just remember thinking this was the only thing that I considered at the time would be how would I handle conversations with NPCs. So that's kind of like one of if you ask me what's the defining trait of Courier's mind, one of the things would be the way the Courier handles dialogue.
Yeah.
Because I decided very early on I was not going to just read whatever is said because those lines, I love Obsidian's writing. They're very, very good at it. But fundamentally, those lines have to be generic enough to incorporate your
so
idea.
you can fit yourself in.
Exactly. So it just didn't make sense to me to have a character who's so flamboyant and extravagant and, swearing every other letter, every other word he says, suddenly going very generically going, who are you? What is your name?
Exactly.
I am the Courier. I do this and that. Yeah. So that's basically when I first started Courier's Mind. Those were the only things that came to my mind. And you would notice in season 1, I didn't even have the HUD off. I didn't know how to do that. Well,
although it still was funny, especially when you were being the doctor. That was so yeah, that was the moment when I'm like, okay, hit subscribe. Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
that was the moment.
Yeah, season 1 was definitely one of those experimental stages because the other thing is like when I was making that, I was actually doing it more for my own benefit because at the time I thought I have all these other sort of ideas, grandiose ideas about series, whether it's YouTube, fanfic, all sorts of things, but like a lot of writers who, amateur writers or whatever, a lot of it didn't amount to much. I'll start writing maybe one chapter and then give up. So at the time I thought, I haven't done any of this, and none of these have been done to completion. So I thought, well, at the time I was in university, I thought, well, in the future I'm gonna have to, either for my job or for my degree, I would have to do projects that I may get a bit tired of, right, for a job, if you think about it. So if I can't even get one of these things that's my passion to completion, then how the hell am I gonna be able to do other things in my, later on in life? So this is why I don't think anyone should ever be afraid that I will cancel the series, because at the time I made a promise to myself, thinking, right, doesn't matter what happens to the series, doesn't matter if people hate it, I'm gonna finish it just to prove to myself that I could do it. So yeah. So
well,
I know
hey,
I'm kind of in a hiatus right now, but it's definitely coming back.
Yeah, people didn't hate it. You now got fans.
Yeah,
you even have a TV tropes page.
I'm absolutely blown away by that. Who was the first person? There was one guy, I can't remember the name of him now. I will mention him at some point in the formal video. But this guy, oh my god, what a champion, because he, I'm assuming it's a he, it could be a she, but they created the page and kept it going for about 3 months or so. I was watching the history, and this person, bless him, he or she absolutely made my day when I saw that. It's actually quite illuminating, because I've always seen TV tropes as kind of like a review as well, because depending on how the person interpreted your thing, they will have different tropes attached to it, right? So the one thing that to this day that I find hilarious is that person initially thought I had a French accent. I mean, I understand that my accent is a bit confusing because, I was born Chinese. I learned my English in the UK when I was like 9-ish. So clearly it's not like a pure Chinese or British accent.
It's just
And
that weird combination. It's kind of like
yeah, exactly.
some people can mistake an Australian accent for a British accent if it's done by someone who's, for example, Jack Atlas from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. For the longest time in the dub, I couldn't tell whether it was a British or Australian accent.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the British-Australian accents are... I understand that's quite difficult to tell apart. I can't tell the difference between American and Canadian, put it this way.
Well, here's the difference. Americans swear more. Canadians say A more.
Well, you say they swear more. I play GTA 5. I know.
I've seen Trevor. I'm being funny.
But anyway, yeah. So that was quite illuminating. I think the TV Trolls page is still going, and now it's someone. I think the original contributor, the original creator, is still going as well. But now it's got more people just adding more stuff to it, and I feel bad every time I look at that. I feel bad. I'm thinking, God, they're continuously adding more things to it. But here I am not making season 9, and it is a reminder that people are still passionate about this thing.
Yeah,
and it hasn't died or anything like that.
I mean, a lot of other Mind series have started up and died before completion, but you're still going.
Yeah, that's the other sort of thing that really that kind of motivates me, because I don't want to be yet another guy on YouTube who started something that he couldn't possibly finish. And actually, as a side note, for anyone who do want to make things like this, doesn't have to be a Mind series, could be any sort of great project. My advice would be think carefully about what it is you're trying to do. Don't do what I did with the Doom 3 thing, with the whole spur in the moment, and especially don't actually start making your first episode until you know roughly how it's going to go, because at the end of the day, you're only going to be disappointing someone if you don't get to finish it.
So, how about we talk about some of the technical aspects behind, the Mind series? Like, how long does it take for you to, maybe make an entire season? Like, because
entire season.
What?
Entire season? So it's been varied, because when I was... so from seasons 1 till about 4-ish, I was aiming to do a season, maybe 2 episodes a week, which, this was back when the episodes were a little bit shorter. Their average length was something like 12 minutes or something like that.
Plus, you weren't focusing on big things. It was just first episode, dealing with stuff in Good Springs, getting back on your feet.
Yeah. It's I do have to say it's gotten harder and harder to make these, because obviously now I have companions in there, and one thing I didn't foresee that would take a lot of time is actually searching through all the different lines of dialogue they have. Because what I do is I use the mod manager, Fallout mod manager, to extract the lines, the voice lines, and the annoying thing is those lines are not labeled in a way that's at all helpful. They're labeled using code. So so it's hard for me to tell what they're saying, what the lines are, without actually going into each line. And unfortunately, there is, on the wiki page, it actually does list all the lines.
God bless the wiki.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever did that, you must have gone through hell to go through all of that. But unfortunately, the label they use do not match the label of the files. So what can you do? But yeah, so that's quite time-consuming. I think nowadays I try to average maybe 1 episode a week when I'm actually properly doing it. So slower than it used to be, but I think it was around season 5 when I suddenly realized that trying to do these things too quickly is going to impact the quality.
Yeah.
Right. So
later on
it's
you got
better
some good quality.
Yeah, it's better to take a step back and think about what it is I'm trying to write, instead of just blurting everything.
Yeah, and that's so how about so far, we know that some of the mods you use, like the pack mod and the DLC delayer. What
Yeah.
other mods do you like to use for this?
Well, you see, now that I'm on my, I can actually look it up because I can never remember any of. Well, I know like sort of the delay DLC and stuff like that, but let me just open up Mod Manager, Nexus Mod Manager.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, when I switched my computers, I did lose a few of the mods. I don't think any of them were really super critical.
Yeah, I think the only one, I think one of them that you used early on was the bottled water.
Yeah, so season one had I did when I did season one, I kind of hoped to like go really immersive. I considered doing it in hardcore mode actually, but very quickly I realized that it was kind of pointless because you don't see it. You don't really see the
Yeah,
stats.
like I mean, we could hear you. You know, like you had like the sound effects for cutting into like the bloatfly to get the bloatfly sliders and munching
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah, I think if I ever remade season one, I probably wouldn't bother putting that in anymore because they were quite time consuming. But I have to say that was very fun to do. Those lines, those during editing, that was really
Yeah.
good fun.
yeah, and
Just
it actually
looking
got.
up.
And I think it also did another important thing. We got into the personality of the courier, like his
Yes.
attitude toward things, like just knowing. Oh, he likes blowfly sliders. That's something that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll come back to this later if we talk about like his personality and so on. But one of my inspirations at the time was like some British TV chefs, not actually Gordon Ramsay, but there were a few TV chefs that I thought were quite funny. So that's kind of why he briefly had this food critic sort of taste to it. But anyway, about the mods, so I got them open here. I will say though, some of these, so to anyone who plays Fallout New Vegas who's not familiar with mods, for the love of God, every now and then you really want to keep Mod Manager up to date because in between season 7 and season 8, I made the mistake of not keeping it up to date, and they had a huge update that ended up wrecking a bunch of my mods.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the love of God, guys, don't do that. So the ones that I can see here, right? I got all the packs. Invisible wall remover, pretty
That's
standard.
helpful.
Yeah. Nevada skies, again, pretty standard. Interior lighting overhaul.
That's definitely gonna help with recording.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I've always struggled a bit with the lighting in this game. I think I'm still trying to work out if it's YouTube or if it's Sony Vegas or if it's the game, but it's always darker than I expect. This is something I'm just gonna have to experiment with.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Electro City, which I believe that's the having street lights everywhere at night, I think. Project Nevada, I mean, again, these are fairly standard stuff here. I don't think I use that many that are really, out there. The Artified UI, but you obviously don't see that really. Mission Mojave, the Ultimate Edition. I don't know exactly how much stuff it fixes, but I have noticed they've changed some of the character models in terms of, especially their faces. I remember when I was doing season 6, I remember thinking, oh, I'm about to talk to Francine Garrett, the lady in the Garretts, and when I first played the game, I remember looking at her thinking, oh my gosh, she looked like she had a massive accident with that face.
I know, right?
It looked like the character, whoever did the modeling for that character didn't quite wrap the texture correctly or something. I don't want to insult the guy who made it.
Let's face it, it's a Bethesda game. Of course, we're gonna get some weird character models occasionally.
Yeah, but I was expecting that, and I actually thought about making jokes about it. But if you actually look at what ended up happening in season 6, I think it was the Mission Mojave patch that modified the faces a bit. So at least she now looks a bit more natural. So, it's mods like that. This is why I sometimes hesitate using really deeply immersive mods, because it kind of removes some of the quirks that you could make jokes on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I half expect you to eventually make a joke where, your voice, you sound, I swear to God, I've heard your voice before, and, of course, it's Yuri who plays a lot of the NPCs and characters.
Sorry, say again. You think my voice sounds like what?
You talk about, you talk to an NPC and you say, "Wow, your voice sounds very familiar. I swear to God, I heard it before." And it's the same, it's Yuri.
Oh yes. One guy who voiced like 60 different characters. Like I think Oblivion was the worst when it came to that.
Yeah, Oblivion was the
had-
worst. But here, at the very least, they're getting their money's worth of a decent voice actor.
Yeah, like even in Fallout 4, I can still hear the same guy quite a few times. I guess it's understandable that we have so many NPCs. It's always going to be a problem, but
At least in Fallout 4, they improved.
Yeah, definitely. What else do I have? This is so okay. So I had people have asked me before, like, what are the Courier's like stats are and so on. I'm gonna be honest here. I do kind of cheat a bit because my ultimate goal is to make sure he doesn't randomly die in the middle of recording like a 20-minute stretch of footage. That would be a disaster. I've actually had problems where the game would randomly crash during the middle of a conversation.
God damn it.
Especially long ones, exactly. So I've learned my lesson now to like regularly quick save, because at least when I have the HUD turned off, you can't actually see the notification. But it is quite essential. But so I have this thing called Zatmos skill perks, which I think is when your skill points reach a certain level, you automatically get a few of the perks.
Yeah, I've used that one before.
Yeah, that's quite convenient. I've got the duffel bag mod. It's called I've had people ask me this quite a few times. It's called duffel bag of guns. So you see sometimes he carries the duffel bag, and that's actually the default version of that mod. You have the option, I think, where you equip it, unequips it, and equipped it. It will actually say, do you want this to be the standard, the one that shows a bunch of guns poking out, the one that shows a bunch of energy weapon poking out? Yeah, it's quite an immersive thing. It's really well made. There's the companion sandbox mode, which I don't know how well it shows in the series, but sometimes in the default game, the companions will literally just stand there motionless wherever.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's almost like someone literally just turned them off, like C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back. And
of course, you got a mod that lets you have multiple companions at once. I mean, that's
yes.
standard.
I'm actually the one right under that is called Unlimited Companions. So pretty self-explanatory. I understand why they limit the number of companions, but let's be honest. If you could travel with a gang of badasses, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's just like oh, hello, person who wronged me. By the way, have you met my posse? A sniper who has a gun to my back, a girl who likes to punch things, a gay scientist, Robo-Dog, Robo-Eye.
We still haven't met all of them yet, so...
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when you meet Raul. That is going to be so awesome.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about that, because the other thing you got to remember is that they're... I'm not sure whether I should like it or hate it, but the way they trigger companion quests, you have to take them to certain places. So
yeah, that is like that's probably one of the more annoying ones.
Yeah, especially when you don't know. You have no idea what
triggers. Yeah, at least with ED, you usually get ED at around the same point, because he's probably going to be your first companion, and you'll carry him to, Novak, and you will more than likely trigger the thing, and you can figure it out.
Yeah. And sometimes it triggers when you don't even realize it. Like, I think in Season 8, it actually triggered the second message, and I wasn't expecting that when I recorded the thing. By the way, whenever you see... So the one thing I can't hide with the transparent menus console command is the cursor. So if you ever see the cursor appearing briefly, what I try to do is every time that appears, I try to very quickly move the mouse off screen so you wouldn't see it. But if you ever see that like linger for too long, that means I didn't expect what the hell just happened. My brain is still trying to process that. Oh shit, the thing's moving.
So that's a way to figure out whether it's something that was intentional, or you just threw it in as the truck.
I try to plan ahead by going to I do like a dry run, a sort of just to see what's ahead for the next 20 minutes before I do each episode. But occasionally things like that does happen.
But so, it adds to the fun.
Yeah, it sometimes that actually ends up changing completely what I'm about to say. So it's moments like that that's actually kind of interesting.
So moving on to personality.
Yep.
So the personality of the Courier. He is prone to anger, he loves revenge, he's somewhat of a psychopath, as seen in later.
Well, let's be honest, which of the main characters aren't like that? They're pretty much all like that, aren't they?
They can calmly kill some people without stopping a beat. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Although in defense of some of them, at least with like Shepard, he's trained in combat. Freeman, he's just crazy, and Barney, well,
Well, let's be honest. Out of those three characters, the only one who's psychologically prepared for any of it would be Shepard, and even
Freeman
then,
in his own crazy way.
Possibly, but even then, Shepard, which soldier out there has ever encountered aliens that can shoot lightning from their fingertips?
He took on an eldritch god.
Yeah, I don't think that aspect is part of standard training.
No, it is not.
No.
But yeah, so the character's personality. I mean, why'd you go with this Courier? Why'd you make...
Well, okay, so to begin with, clearly he's got some Freeman in him. I did realize fairly early on that I don't want him to be a carbon copy of Freeman. And how well I've done that since then, that's up to the viewers to decide. I think during season 1, I actually made a conscious choice. I'm thinking, right, I want this character to be a combination of Heath Ledger's Joker and David Tennant's performance as Doctor Who. And I assume you know what that is like because I can see the Dalek poster in the back. So
yes.
You are
basically
familiar.
A psychotic hero. Got it.
Yeah, basically. So he, when he needs to be kind, he can be kind, but you can never be sure with this guy.
Yeah, his plan to, being a hero is usually slaughtering everyone in his way.
Pretty much. I think over time, it's sort of organically grown on its own. I think at some point in season 2, I didn't bother trying to steer it too much anymore. It became more like I write whatever comes to mind that I think fits best. So yeah, it's definitely grown a bit, and it's kind of affected by my own personal experiences.
Yeah. How about the personalities of a few of the companions? First off, we have ED.
Yeah. The R2-D2 of the series, I like to think of him as.
Yes.
Yeah. Although a bit, I think R2 might be a bit more cynical than Eddie is. I don't know. I don't know. I just the reason I chose him to be this sort of really childish character is actually because of Lonesome Road. You look at the way he's portrayed in Lonesome Road. Before that DLC, he didn't really have a personality.
He was just one companion who will always follow you no matter what.
Yeah, he was just a robot that made noises in battle, that made interesting noises during combat. But Lonesome Road, I walked away from that thinking, it gave me the distinct impression that this is he's got the mentality of a young child, which, it's very unique in its own way. That's why I made him so that he's sort of like the Courier's moral compass to varying degrees of success. I will point out, the TV Tropes page actually made me more aware of this than I realized myself. But towards the latest seasons, the Courier started stealing less. He started to loot a lot less than he did in the early series. It's not that I consciously made that decision. It's more like I didn't have the time in each episode to loot everything.
Plus, it's I'm rich enough. I don't need to carry all this.
That's also true. But I like to... Yeah, it's a happy coincidence that... Yeah. It's the little guy is rubbing off on him.
And the other one we'll talk about that will hopefully not get into too many spoilers is Boone.
Yes.
Everyone's favorite OP companion.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I mean, with Boone, again, a lot of this is based on my own interpretation of the characters. But with Boone, my interpretation is he's never quite let go of his experience with the NCR. And I think, based on some of his preferences, you can tell that he's still an NCR soldier at heart, but he's obviously a lot more cynical than he used to be. So I thought it would be funny to, as a way of explaining why the Courier seems to help the NCR when it doesn't directly involve Benny, I just say, well, Boone realized that this guy might be useful and keeps trying to.
Yeah, let's face it. You don't want to piss off a guy who could headshot you a couple of miles away.
Yeah, definitely not. I think deep down, actually, that was one of my original ideas when it came to Boone, would be to give off the sense that the Courier is actually really scared of him. But as time went on, obviously that became less of a thing.
It's
but
more
at the
both
back
are
of
on
my
equal
head,
grounds, and I think both realize if they dig into a fight, it's more likely both of them are going to kill each other at the same time.
yeah, definitely. It's exactly, that's kind of why they don't. I think I said it several times in season 8 when there was suspicion that when Boone was suspicious of the Courier, he keeps saying, look, if we get into a fight, neither of us are walking out alive, so why bother?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's another reason why your series is so good. Not only are you giving the Courier a good personality, but you're taking, these already established characters and adding on to them.
Yeah, so the reason I did that was the other thing I decided fairly early on that I wanted to do it like that. It's because, well, two reasons. First of all, in Freeman's mind, I noticed that Ross tends not to take the story too seriously. It's like, I guess Half-Life tells the story in a way that you can ignore if you want to anyway. So it kind of fits. But with Fallout, it's an RPG with a very heavy story focus. You can't just keep ignoring the story, right? So I thought, okay, instead of doing that, let's embrace it. And the other thing that really annoyed me about New Vegas, actually, is that you have these amazing companions, truly great companions that when you talk to them, they're so much better written than any character in Fallout 3. And yet, the moment you exit conversation with them, they become like drones. They're basically robots. And we could debate whether or not Fallout 4's companions are any better, but certainly with Fallout 4, they do interact with each other for a start.
Yeah, and
they acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, and
but
4, they feel less like drones. I mean, you still get there's always that one gif of, the character being like, they're not good. I think it was Kat, the Irish girl. I can't remember her name.
Kate, yeah.
Kate, who's just like, yeah, nobody's gonna sneak up on me, and then a ghoul just blindsides her. You get moments like that, but you're just like, okay, it's a Bethesda game. They're not gonna.
They get free passes sometimes, but yeah, I mean, one of the things that really disappointed me with New Vegas' companions is that they don't talk to each other. You have the option of putting them all in the Lucky 38, and yet they ignore each other all the time. I mean, just think, you have an NCR sniper and an active member of the Brotherhood of Steel.
Exactly.
Living under the same roof. Yeah, and I seriously thought, when I first read the press releases of Fallout New Vegas and say these are the companions and these are their affiliations, the first thing in my head was thinking, oh my god, bring these two together, there's gonna be fireworks.
I just wish that you could have gotten a Caesar's Legion companion. And I know that in the cut content, Ulysses was originally gonna be one, but it's a shame, because now that would have been interesting.
Well, they kind of remedied that in Fallout 4, right? You have that X688, whatever his name is.
You got a companion from every faction.
Yeah, and you literally cannot keep all of them at the same time. So that they obviously learned from that. But that was one of my motivations, to not only have the companions talk to the Courier as he's walking, but also they would interact with each other and have a conversation. And the good thing about New Vegas is that there are so many lines that they recorded. You can literally string a coherent conversation together. That's
I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I basically took my problems I had with the game and tried to remedy it in a way. So it's a pain in the neck to do. Like I said, there's a lot of lines.
But hey, the payoff is just, it's beautiful.
Thank you. And it's just, I tell you one thing though, as great of a character as he is, Craig Boone has the least number of lines out of all of them. I know because I checked. And that means, and ironically, because he's the longest human companion I've had in the show, it means I'm literally running out of lines. I'm running out of lines. I'm forced to have him repeat a few now, which is like cardinal sin as far as the current.
Yeah, but I think, a lot of people forgive that because he definitely comes off also as a man of few words.
Yes, definitely.
At the very least,
patrolling the Mojave is patrolling the Mojave. That line, oh my god!
Yeah, I love how eventually just like I swear that's a code phrase.
Yeah, it's like they're telling the snipers to ignore this guy. He's one of us. Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, the line repeating with that, like, patrolling the Mojave makes me wish for a nuclear winter. Oy, what is it with Bethesda and memes?
In Lonesome Road, you can actually grant them that wish by nuking the NCR.
Oh yeah!
Yeah, this is what nuclear winter is actually.
Hey, I'm only giving them what they want!
Yes. I don't think that would be a good excuse for the Courier to do that, but hey,
although that would make for a good April Fool's episode.
Yes.
It's just, you basically go through the entire series, take every scene where somebody says that into a montage, and it's like, okay! And then you activate the button, it's like, where, you launch that nuke, and it's like, and then, it dissolves and it's like waking up, it's like, I just had the most wonderful dream where I just did a very annoying line. There you go, episode written.
I just imagine now that there we go. Okay, I'm just gonna write this down. I'm just thinking in my head, like, as that happened, the explosion happens, and then he's thinking, finally, I've ended that line, and then just like, almost like God echoing goes, patrolling the Mojave is first. It's just like, the last, as all of those troopers go to the afterlife, that's the message they leave behind. And the Courier's like, fuck!
I love it.
Yeah. So
DLC, like, what DLC are you looking forward to doing first?
Boy. If I had a penny for every time someone asked me about the DLC, I would be able to buy another copy of the game. Anyway, DLC. So the DLCs. I've made a conscious decision not to sort of just do them as he comes across those areas, because in my mind the DLCs they have a very special significance. So I'm actually saving the DLCs up for a particular moment in the main story for him to go through. So it's obviously I can't talk too much about that without spoiling things.
No,
but
that's fair.
Obviously I will do them. I will absolutely do them. My policy with Courier Spine is to try and go through as many of the content as I possibly can. There will be a few things I miss out, mostly like really far off locations that maybe has a unique weapon in there, because I can't imagine how would you just, like, there's a nuclear weapons test site off of very close to
exactly,
Searchlight,
and
actually.
There's
so many
no reason for you to go there.
Yeah. I think Dinner Bell, the shotgun, is in there, which is nice. But
no, actually, it was incorrectly said that was there, but you get Dinner Bell by doing the quests over at the Thorn.
Oh yes, you're right. Yes, so it's things like that that I'm probably gonna miss.
Like, I mean, the only other one I could see, the only reason why I could think of him actually going to that area is because of the crashed, Vertibird, which has that unique, launch.
Yeah. But then you gotta wonder, how does he know? When you're playing a video game, or you can find out online about these areas.
Now, if I had to say out of character, how he could get that knowledge is either through ED, saying he, had found it on his radar, or maybe Arcane Ganon, or I don't know.
Yeah, that actually, now that you bring that up, this kind of highlights one of my annoyances with not just this game, but all kinds of RPGs. Is when they the quests say, go talk to this person.
Well, how do I know who that is?
Exactly. You didn't give me a picture. I don't know what he looks like. I don't even know what he sounds like. You just say, kill this guy. I'm thinking, okay, so realistically speaking, am I supposed to kill every guy that I see until you send me a message and say, hey, I paid you for one guy.
Well, consider it a bonus.
Not the entire town. You realize I'm still only gonna pay you for one guy, right?
It's like, on the other hand, I just killed the entire town with no problem, and you just want to pay me for one.
Yeah, so it's... So this is why, I forgot when I started to do it now, but I realized that the only logical way to explain it is basically what you just said, which is having the robot actually detecting, say, make a noise, there's the guy, or there's the thing that you were supposed to pick up.
Yeah, and actually you do, I also, that's another thing I do like. I like how you have send Edie or Boone to deliver the quest, which makes a lot more sense than just...
Yeah. One of the reasons why Boone came back suddenly in Ranger gear is because he went to that safe house, which I considered going there, but I'm thinking it doesn't really flow with the series itself. Yeah.
Although admittedly, I would like to see his reaction to a bunch of Deathclaws. He's just like, practice.
Yeah. I think it does actually kind of worry me about, I think one of the quests, the earliest quest I can think of that I picked up, I still haven't finished, is that Return to Sender quest. You know, the one where you have to deliver the codes to each of those ranger stations. That's around the entire freaking
That is like one of the worst quests.
Yeah, so I think up to this point, I've maybe delivered 2. I picked that up way back in season 4 or something. But eventually...
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll pick that up again.
How about mod quests? Like mod quests. Would you ever consider doing some of those?
Okay, so the first problem is that I haven't played a lot of mod quests, so I'm not that familiar with them. I have been told that there are a few that kind of fit. It would be a case of me playing them and see whether or not it fits with the story and fits with his own character progression. And actually, I'm open to suggestions, to be honest with you. I know there are mods that are set after the game is finished, but I want to avoid those because we don't know what Bethesda or Obsidian will do in the future, right? So any choice that I make here, actually, to be honest with you, I was nervous about killing Caesar in season 8. Spoilers. I'm assuming people have watched it.
I mean, let's face it, Caesar, you either kill him or join him, and I mean, it's 50-50 shot.
But I was nervous about that because I didn't they could easily say, oh, he survived, or he died under some other circumstances off screen. But
the way I see it, just do whatever you want. If it's canon, it's canon. If it's non-canon, well, who's gonna blame you?
That's probably how I'm gonna do it. It's one of those things where, to be honest with you, it's entirely possible they'll never make a direct sequel to this game. It's entirely possible, but we'll never know. We won't know until it happens. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that apparently Morrowind's ending, they ended up combining all of the endings, or was it Daggerfall? One of those Elder Scrolls games, they ended up combining all of the different scenarios into this mess that I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine how you could combine that for New Vegas.
I actually can, but it would not be very satisfying.
What? Does it involve a nuke?
Well, no, it involves the tunnelers when you think about it. Because ultimately, this is a spoiler for the end of the game. Well, spoiler for one DLC, in case anyone hasn't played it.
End of the the Lonesome Road, if you haven't played it. Here's your spoiler alert, even though you had, how many years now?
7, almost, no, okay, 6 and a bit years. But the reason I say that is because the tunnelers, it doesn't matter who wins, right? They're gonna screw up everything.
Yeah,
the
I
tunnelers
played
will
Fallout
kill
Dust.
everyone.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I've actually been suggested that mod by a few people. I haven't looked at it yet. But
I
it's
don't
certainly very
recommend doing it for a mind, but playing it or even doing a let's play of it would actually be pretty cool for you.
Yeah.
The warning, it is very, very, very difficult early on.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and
It's
one more
meant to be.
thing.
Yep.
Do not go to Utah. Do not go to the park.
Oh God.
Trust me.
Oh,
There is
yeah.
nothing there but a giant Wendigo who cannot die and will kill you.
They brought Wendigos into this. They
A
brought
Wendigo.
Slenderman into this.
It's basically like it looks like a giant freaky plant monster thing.
Oh, okay.
I think they made it bigger, stretched the limbs out, and
So
yeah.
so if I spawn Gojira and have them fight,
Something like
that would
that.
be quite funny.
Now that
Yeah,
I
in case-
think, maybe you should bring back his chef out attitude, because think about it, Deathclaw egg omelets.
Well, yeah.
I mean-
I think I'm going to guess that people who are waiting for future episodes, they're waiting for the moment where he actually comes across the Deathclaw, because he's met Cazadors now. He's come across Cazadors now, not Deathclaws yet.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
you know what you need to do after Deathclaws? Make an offhand remark. It's like, I don't know what's worse, Deathclaw or Cazadors, and then you add in the mod, the Kazaclaw. It's basically a Deathclaw with Cazador.
Yeah, with wings. Yeah. Do they actually jump? Do they actually move like?
I don't know.
Deathclaws or like Cazadors?
I think it's a mod, but let's face,
Yeah.
just put it in for one episode or something. Just to give them the
but to be
scare
fair-
of a lifetime.
Well, probably as a result of a bad trip or something, bad camp trip of some kind. But to be fair, I think the real star is gonna be the legendary bloatfly.
Oh, and he's just gonna be like, I am gonna make so many sliders.
Legendary bloatfly. I cannot believe that's a thing in the game, but it is.
They had to add it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Surprised that they didn't have a reference to that in Fallout 4, because there are legendary enemies now. So, there you go.
Yeah, there's just... Yeah, although I'm excited to see what his reactions into the DLC are. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Fuck
hoping...
Elijah. Love the Burn Man. Freaking love the Think Tank. And Ulysses is quite possibly one of the most complex characters in Fallout.
Yeah, I think I need to replay that DLC actually, because when I first played through it, I had no idea what was happening. But the more I read about it afterwards, the more I thought, oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's one of those things that when you replay, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it also didn't help that that DLC crashed every time I tried to go into it to begin
Oh,
with.
God.
I had to spawn myself past the initial gate. I'm praying that the mods that I have has fixed that now, because it was, oh my god, I love this game so much, but the bugs, oh my god, the bugs.
Yeah, you think the Cazadors are bad, just the bugs in Bethesda games are worse.
Yeah, it's just...
Also, I can't wait to see his reaction to the a-hole who made the Cazadors. They basically said, oh, they're sterile. It's like, really?
I can't actually remember, does he tell you? Does
Yeah, he
actually
tells
say-
you he created the Cazadors,
Oh, wow.
and it's like, no, they're not going to escape, and they're
wow.
sterile anyway. And you're like, no, dude, they are not sterile. They haven't
he's
made the
not-
Mojave.
Because I just remembered, I realized he hasn't come across Night Stalkers either yet. Nor has he come across the spore carriers, and they're all that guy's fault, right?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, so
And then...
I have to say, let me just get this out there. I had a lot of comments saying, oh, I can't wait for Old World Blues. I can't wait for him to get to the big empty. I just, freak out. I have to be honest with you. I'm actually nervous for that, because when you have something that's so funny already, how do you make a parody out of it? It's not that
the way I see it is him being the straight man and basically pointing out just how flawed all their stuff is.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I probably end up taking a slightly different approach, but that's all in the future for me to plan and think about.
Yeah, it's definitely... We're definitely going to have a good time, and we're definitely... I think a lot of your viewers are going to be excited to see where you go with all this. Yeah. Although I think one of the final and biggest question is, when this is over, more Fallout games?
Oh, God. Okay, so...
Well, let's face it. Ross gets questions. Half-Life 2. We gotta ask. Fallout 3.
To be fair, I do wonder what would happen first. Him finishing Half-Life Freeman's Mind 2, me finishing this series, or Half-Life 3 coming out. When is that gonna? When's the first gonna happen? Which was
take your bets. Take your bets.
Yeah. Right now I literally don't have an answer because it's like anything I say now is probably not going to stay that way anymore this time next year or even this time next month when I have my exams for this term. But I don't have any solid plans. And actually, although I will say this, in my head, in my mind, this version in this particular canon of Fallout, the Lone Wanderer will be the complete opposite of the Courier.
Oh.
And by that I mean, you know how the Courier really, really dislikes energy weapons? Yeah, the Lone Wanderer will be the complete opposite. Like, the Lone Wanderer's preferences when it comes to like combat and so on will be the complete opposite of the Courier.
Yeah, I actually did do a fan fiction based on Fallout 3 in New Vegas. New Vegas when I did complete 3, I had the Lone Wanderer being, pretty much, a moral, upstanding citizen. He used power armor, but he used, one or two weapons. The Lone Wanderer, on the other hand, is a little more gray morality and multiple weapons based on what he has at the moment due to ammo being more scarce out in the field, in the waste.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I probably won't do a Fallout 3 Mind series, because I would want these characters to be different. I don't want them to be carbon copies of each other. And having written Courier's Mind for so long and trying to change into a different mindset, that will be hard. That's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. And obviously Fallout 4, I mean, I know RuneScape Hunter, who does Matt Spy, I know he's doing a Fallout 4 one. But in my mind, the Fallout 4's character has a voice. Love it or hate it.
I think that was the biggest step by Bethesda. I mean, I don't think it was a bad idea, it could have been better.
No, it's actually well delivered. I actually think that it's okay, I wouldn't necessarily say it's better than Mass Effect's version, but it's certainly well done. It's just
the problem is that we're limited with our with our choices.
Absolutely.
And it's a little harder to get into the character.
Yeah, definitely. I think the best part to showcase that in Fallout 4, I remember thinking we wouldn't have this problem if you didn't voice him, is if you join the railroad and they say, oh, what's your call sign gonna be? You only have 3 choices you can get.
Come on, just give us more.
And to get to the other 3 choices? Yeah, well, to get to the other 3 choices... Or
give us the chance to make our own and then do the thing you do with Codsworth.
Yeah, but the funniest thing is, to get to the other 3 choices they had, you have to pick a dialogue option to switch the choices. So he would have to say, let me think about this, or something like that.
Just imagine the fun you could have had if you could write your own one. And they actually voice it like, okay, your code name will be Asshole. Or Butthead.
Your codename will now be the Ice Cream Van.
The Ice Cream! Ice Cream Man.
The Ice Cream Man. Yeah, I mean, it fits. It fits, especially if you grab the cryo later. But yeah.
Mr. Freeze!
Yes! Yes! I absolutely...
I approve 100%.
That needs to be a thing. Absolutely.
Hey, Institute, what killed the dinosaurs? We do believe it
The
was
Ice Age.
the Ice Age. Yes!
Yes. To be honest, like the best thing about the voice acting in that one was the Silver Shroud, hands down.
Yeah,
the
that
Silver
was
Shroud.
Yeah, right.
That single-handedly made me think, you know what? The voice acting is worth it.
Yeah,
That
it was
is
worth
too
it for
good.
that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I'm hoping that in the next Fallout, maybe if they do the voices, they have more options for lines or a better dialogue system, or just go back to the old silent protagonist.
Yeah, I think the community is pretty much spoken in that regard.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'm okay with them trying new things.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. You like it or hate it, you gotta admit, Bethesda does. They dare to try, right? They dare to try innovate. They're kind of like Nintendo in the sense that they dare to make changes, and
not to mention they take their time on all of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, one of the things that I really want to do is, do you remember the Survivor prank, the Survivor hoax?
Well, really?
Do you remember
what
there
was
was
that?
Were you not aware of this? When before Fallout, this was 2014, I think. So about a year before Fallout 4 was announced, there was a guy who did a bunch of fake websites teasing about something called the Survivor 22 something or other. I'm sure a lot of people know about this, but it was so well done because it was one of those ARG things. It was so well done. A lot of people really did fall for it, and amazingly, he actually got a few things right. He got a few things surprisingly right. He even mentions an old man in the Institute.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's actually quite, looking back on it now, it's actually quite fascinating to see what he got right and what he got wrong. He in his version of Fallout 4, the map is slightly off center. Like, you know how in Fallout 4 it's all around Boston. I think his one is a bit more to the east or something, and he tried to get what was his name? Desmond from Point Lookout. He tried to get that character in because apparently that character mentions the Great Game or something involving, like,
yeah, that's true, and
all these
it'd
other.
be cool to have an old Cockney ghoul back in
They
the
never
game.
did. Yeah, but it was fascinating. Like a lot of people knew it was gonna be fake, but the amount of efforts this guy put in, he even had like fake phone numbers that had pre-recorded messages if you call them up.
This
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Now,
he spent
You know,
about
if there's one
$900.
thing I respect, it's trolls who go the extra mile.
Yeah, but it goes to show, like, the Fallout community is incredible. It's, it's a very old community because obviously first Fallout, what was it, 1990 something?
Yeah, started off as a cult hit and then became big.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's some very creative people.
Looking at you, Shoddy Cast, and yes, I am hoping to try and get them on here.
Oh wow, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, you know what would also be cool? If we can get the Shoddy Cat, this would be an awesome crossover if your Courier met the storyteller. Okay, what would the Courier's reaction be to him be like, let me tell you a story, like...
I haven't watched the later episodes of the storyteller because I think originally it was more like a sort of documentary type
But
thing,
now
right?
it's half documentary, half machinima, which... And by the way, they're actually planning to make a movie based around the storyteller. Wow.
I mean, Fallout's got some of the most creative fan bases out there. You got them, obviously. You got the people who made Nuka Break.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, and Fallout Lanius, that could practically be canon. Really, that Fallout Lanius, as far as I'm concerned, is canon until they say otherwise.
Yeah, then there's Autumn Leaves. There's just...
Yeah, it's incredible. I think one good thing. Sorry, not one good thing. One of the many good things that Bethesda has done with this franchise is they have embraced the modding community. I mean, people give them a lot of crap about things they've changed, but let's be honest, they do learn. Like, you look at Fallout 4 and some of the gameplay improvements, they were all directly lifted from criticisms of Fallout 3. At least that's the way I look at it.
A more faction-based story. We got...
Yeah.
Well, you got a bigger map, more things to do. Weapon modding.
Yeah.
Settlement building. You got. Okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't as good as New Vegas. Maybe it wasn't as good. Maybe it got a bit overhyped. But let's face it, it's an all-around solid game.
Yeah, I think in my mind, the perfect game would be Fallout New Vegas redone in Fallout 4's engine.
Oh god, yeah, that would be
pretty
awesome.
Good. This is why I think Bethesda would be foolish not to get Obsidian to do another Fallout game. I think like it makes the perfect sense. Like would be when you change technology, go with your Elder Scrolls, right? Use Elder Scrolls to promote your new technology, your new next-gen game. Start with that, then take the lessons you've learned and put it in your own Fallout game, and then while waiting for the next Elder Scrolls, let Obsidian have a go.
Just have Obsidian and since Obsidian has members from the original creators,
yeah, absolutely.
They could just continue their continuity in the East, whereas Bethesda takes care of not the East, the
West. Way around. Yeah.
And Bethesda takes care of the East.
Yeah, and they're so far apart, they're not going to like clash with each other unless they deliberately try. So it's, yeah.
Exactly.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
Or maybe we can try something else. Maybe go down south to the bayou. Seriously, the Fallout New Orleans. I wish that was
New
real.
Orleans, yes. Yeah, because I will say though, one thing you got to remember with these locations is that the further you go from like the really famous areas in America, the harder it's going to be to sell this game outside of America, because like I was struggling to recognize anything in Boston. I'll be honest with you.
No, I understand. Hey, even I didn't know a lot of the stuff in Boston, but that's just because I'm not that well traveled.
Yeah, but it's although I will say I learned a lot about American landmarks in because of Fallout. I mean, I know not to use the game as a pure template.
No, don't do that.
But it's a good place to start looking on, Google or whatever, just to see. Actually, if I eventually have the money and time, I would love to go to Vegas and try to do one of those trips. Actually, try to retrace the Courier steps and see how many of the actual places I come across. Because Good Springs is a real place.
So is Prim.
This I do. Yeah, Prim is a real place. Nipton is a real place. So many of these, so much detail has been put into these games. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, if there's anything else you want to add, I think now's a good time to wrap this up.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, thank you for being willing to put up with me for an hour.
No, it was an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, link to his channel in the description. And do you have a Patreon?
I don't. I actually, that is one thing I do want to add, which is I appreciate very much people who say, oh, you should have a Patreon, you should have this and that. I don't do that. For one of the reasons is I don't want to get money involved with something that I essentially see as a hobby, because then when you get money involved, it gets so much more complicated. You got to think about copyright. You got to think about, like YouTube being a dick to you. You got to.
You know what? That's fair.
Yeah,
I respect that.
I very much appreciate everybody's contributions to the show so far.
Right, so link in the description, and as always, I'm Brian Tenkage.
And 101Phase, thank you so much for watching.
And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.